This is what my task database looks like. I have regular tasks and I have subtasks that fall under a parent task. This parent task doesn't really provide any construct, it just acts as a folder for holding all the subtasks. The completion of the parent task just means that all the subtasks under it have been completed. So if I have a regular task that I want to turn into one of these, what I would end up doing is turning the regular task into a subtask, adding a parent, and then adding another subtask to represent the rest of the work that I need to complete. Now, when I've done this, it's been kind of tedious because I have to create the parent, then I have to add this as a subtask, and I have to go ahead and create another subtask. So in an attempt to optimize our workflow, let's go ahead and create a little button that does the exact same thing that I just talked about. Hey y'all, this is Jimmy. This is just another installment in the ways I have updated my task database to be a little bit faster and a little bit more useful for me. I know I don't use my personal task database a lot, but this is just a little improvement that I've been wanting to put in for a couple of months now, and I finally got around to it. So if you're interested in buttons and just setting up generic button automations to improve your existing workflows, keep on watching. So when I was thinking about it, I mapped it out like this. So what I want to do is I'm sitting around with this singular main task right here, right? And when I click the button split task like that, I want it to turn this main task into a subtask. And then we mark it as completed. So that's why it's green here. I want it to create a new parent task and I want to create a new subtask. So one task becomes 3 tasks. And then potentially more tasks can be added later on. That's not really a requirement right now. But essentially what we do with this is we turn this guy into this guy. We give him a parent. And then we also add a sibling, which is essentially a child of the parent once we create the parent. So let's go ahead and set that up. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on with this task database, but it's relatively a simple task database, nothing too crazy. And what I want to do, I prototyped it in another page so I know it does work, but I want to go ahead and just add a button. Let's see, actions, and add a button, and I'm going to call this split task. So in order to do this, you're going to need to have subtasks turned on because that's how I'm envisioning it. So I have sub-items turned on. Yeah, I have sub-items turned on. They're called subtask and parent task. So I'm just going to use those when I make my thing. Okay, so here, edit this property. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a page to the tasks and reminders database, and I'm going to name it the name of what I had. So this page dot name, I can just do something like that. And then one important thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a subtask. We are going to put this page as a subtask. So that's this relationship right here. So we're taking our original task and we are pulling in the subtask relationship right there. Everything else should be good. Oh, we also want to, since I have classes here, I'm going to pull in the class as well. So a class for me is just a parent object to this tasks database. So I'm just going to make sure that that is all set for me. If you don't have that, you don't need to do that here. And then I'm just going to set it to this page dot class, which will work. Okay. So that is the creation of this parent task and the linking to the main task. The next thing I'm going to do is complete this main task. So I'm going to add an action, edit property. I'm going to go ahead and edit the done property. I'm going to set it to checked. And then I am going to also save this. And then I'm going to look at my done button because I know I set a couple of other things up. Okay, done is checked, work on time, progress 200%. Okay, so I'm going to do these 3 things. And then I'm going to set the progress to 100. Okay, so that is me marking this task as complete. And then the last thing we need to do is create this subtask. Add a page to tasks and reminders. We're going to name it something similar to this. Grab that formula. I'm going to name it part 2. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay. Save that, and then this one is going to have a parent task of this first page that we created. Okay. And then we also want to do the class piece. So class, this page, dot class. Alright, so that should be everything, and then I'm also going to do a due date because the due date is what I use to see it on my actual calendar. So I'm going to add a due date to the next task. It's just going to be, so date add is going to be the future time. So I'm going to do now plus 2 hours, and then I want to do a range between now and that time. So I want it to say 9:23 to 11:23, so I'm going to use the date range function to set that up. Now if we go through this, it does 3 things. It creates a main page, it marks this page as completed, and it goes ahead and creates a second piece. Click that. So we can see that this has been marked as complete. It's gone ahead and created a parent task that we can see. And if we go into the parent task, so we can see that the main was created and the children have been created. And also I want to check when this child is due. So we can see that it's due from today at 9:24 to 11:24. All right, yeah, so we have part 2 right here. Okay, so let's go back into split task, edit the automation. So make sure there's a space here. And then the last thing I want to do is when I complete this task, I want to set the due date to like when I just completed it. So I'm going to say subtract now 2 hours, and then we're going to say to now, and this is the same concept that we had earlier where it just represents a date range between now and earlier. All right, so that should be our split task button working. So let us pull up both calendar and this and see how that works. Alright, so now if we check out the main, open that up, we have this, and the other one is missing. Oh no. Where's part 2? What? Did the parent task not get connected? So I tested it a couple more times, and every time it creates the parent task and it links it to the main task, but it doesn't actually link the subtask, so it's kind of like hanging like that. So what I'm going to do is, right now I have it like 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to flip everything on its head a little bit, and I'm going to do it like 3, 1, and then 2, or like 3, 1, link this, and then mark the main task as completed whenever. So do it like this. Let's switch this, and then we're gonna not do this. And then for subtask, we're gonna do this page and this page. Okay. I don't really care about the time right now, so I'm just gonna go split task, main. Okay. Okay, so this time it worked. Okay, so I ended up having to switch the order. I think it might just be a bug or something, but when I switch the order, I'm actually getting what I want. So now I can delete this entire thing. So I worked on my drawing of my cat, and I am realizing that it's going to take more than one session. So I jump over here, and then instead of just marking it as complete and creating another task, I'm going to go ahead and split the task. So I go ahead and split the task. It creates a main task. I jump into the main task. I see that I now have Be Honest Drawing Part 1, which is completed, and Be Honest Drawing Part 2, which still needs to be done. If I go ahead and refresh on the right hand side, we can see that it's been marked as complete, and Part 2 is ready for me to schedule whenever. So maybe I'll schedule it for next Tuesday, and that should be everything here. And if I wanted to add a part 3 or a part 4, I would just jump over to this main task right here, and I would go ahead and add a new subtask right over here. I wouldn't continue using the split task. Everyone, that's the video. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any interesting ways of setting up your task database or any workflows or buttons that you've put in, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I have a lot of different weird things on here. I have split task, I have blockers and subtasks. So these are dependencies in Notion, and then these are subtasks. I think, yeah, okay, so I ended up wanting to do something similar to what I have in my work database, which is I have order. So this is a numeric property that tells me like which task comes first and which task comes next. But in my personal database, I didn't really want to set that up because a lot of things can be done in any order. So then I was thinking about using blockers to block things off, but that also didn't really work out. So I don't think I really use the blockers anymore. Like, I think if we jump to one of these, so this is kind of what it looks like. This is the parent task for one of them. And then there's like this, and then it blocks the next one. So then when I mark one of them as complete, only the next one, the direct next one, can be set on the actual calendar, stuff like that. I have something similar in my work database where it's like, if I mark this task as complete, this task now has a due date and it shows up on my calendar, so that way I don't have to keep moving. So say I was on task 4, I don't have to see 5, 6, 7, and 8 on my calendar. But I don't know. I kind of fumbled the bag with my personal database, but I don't really use it that much, so it doesn't really matter. But I've been trying to, make things easier because a lot of these tasks are ones that I don't complete for ages, so I don't really want to keep having to move them around. You can see like there's so many tasks that don't exist on here, but yeah, there's also a bunch without a date because I just gave up on doing them. So yeah, if you have any ideas on how to actually do your tasks and not have them just sitting around in a barely unused database, let me know. Thanks for watching.